I'm not sure I believe in the concept that there's like just the one thing that you could do that would make you happy, but there's like a balance of finding things that you like and things that like fit your personality, of like what type of work environment. And you're always going to be gathering information about those things, and then you'll be able to find something that works well for you. Sometimes that might happen really quickly. There's nothing wrong with finding an answer quickly. It's not like it's bad just because you found it fast. It's also not bad if it takes you 5 years to find a field that you like. Yeah, so my senior year, I had some ideas for like a short-term plan, but I hadn't really gone past like a year or two after college, which I figured I'll solve the immediate problem and then go from there. I had 2 possibilities that I was sort of preparing my senior year of college. I applied for and did not get a Fulbright. I wanted to study the Ainu language, the indigenous people of Japan. I was like, oh, I'm going to go study Ainu language and like learn about the culture and try to preserve the language was my goal. And the Fulbright people were not impressed with that goal. So so I wound up, I went up doing a program called JET, which is the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program. And to do that job, you have to be, like my interview was in Japanese, like you have to be fluent in Japanese. So you work in like some level of Japanese government for 1-year contracts, renewable up to 3 years. I worked for like a nonprofit associated with City Hall that was like an international relations office, and we planned like city level activities, exchange activities. So like I taught like vegetarian cooking classes to people who lived in Kanazawa, Japan. I taught knitting. I did like a knitting and English conversation group. Like I understand why I only did a year, because that pressure of like, but what do I really want to do was looming, and I felt like I needed to start trying to figure that out. I wasn't really into working in government. I didn't really want to do business. So I think my mom was like, well, you could do academia. Like, what else we got here? And at that point, my sister's a professor as well. She's a biology professor. I saw how hard she worked and I was like, no, I'm all set with that. Like, I don't really want to do that. Thanks for the idea, but like, right now, more school, no thank you. I don't want to work that hard. We'll come up with something else. It's okay. So I moved to Tokyo for 3 months and worked for a fashion company, because I was thinking like maybe I wanted to do costuming or fashion design, because when I was an undergrad, I worked in the costume shop building costumes for theater. I thought that was a blast. So so first I talked myself into an internship in Tokyo and quickly was like, this is a terrible idea. And then I went home. And then I started doing upholstery. So I went and opened, had a DBA, so I opened a business, and did upholstery and curtains. And then I moved to Minneapolis, where I started a costuming internship at the Guthrie Theater. And then I wound up coming back to New York, to Rochester, and was sort of like kind of trying to regroup. I was thinking about maybe going to massage school. I thought about acupuncture. And then, now see, here's where mom's ideas, hit and miss. So they suggested that I consider a master's in social work. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like all right, I'm going to do that. I also realized like I didn't really want to just spend my whole life working in a workshop all by myself. So, yeah. I started a master's in social work at Smith College in Massachusetts. And I made it through like 4 months and was like, how about that leave of absence? I don't think this is the right fit for me. We're now like 3 or 4 years post return from Japan, I've just been kind of like bopping geographically all over the place and vocationally all over the place. So at this point now I'm working part-time at Barnes & Noble. I worked at a paint store for a little while, just long enough to explode a paint can in the paint mixer. Bad day. That was a bad day. I tried working construction. I made it about 2 weeks. I didn't love that. At some point in all this was like, hey, I work in a bookstore where we have a whole section of career books. So I finally got myself to open one of them, and actually I bought one. I bought a book and I took it home and was kind of going through and trying to, figure out which section was for me, and saw speech language pathology on the list, and I was like, I've never heard of that. I don't know what that is. So I started looking it up, and I was like, language? Well, I have this Japanese language major. I like language. That's cool. So I kind of did some research. I was thinking it sounded good, could be a good match. I was interested. I wound up at the high school in the area where I was as a paraprofessional, and they were able to set it up that I could shadow the speech language pathologist a little bit and interviewed her, and then also just had the flavor of working in a school for a year, and was like, okay, I can definitely do this. This is good. I like being in the schools. I'm down for this. So I applied to 2 programs, and I got in here actually at NAS, and came back and did my master's degree here. So, but that was about 5 years between graduating from undergrad and coming back to school again for real. I guess there's a couple things that I would say. So one is just that it can be really helpful to try to gather a number of different experiences to sort of test things out, because it is useful to know if you don't like something. It's also obviously useful to know if you do like something, but sometimes you kind of have to gather some additional data by sort of gaining an experience like the thing you're thinking about. So being a paraprofessional was very wise, because then I really knew, and that helped me then to get through a master's program, because it's nope, I'm pretty sure that this is good. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm getting into. I certainly had lots of moments of being frustrated that I didn't have a good answer to my question that I was trying to answer. So I think just knowing that there can be some moments of frustration, and that's okay. And I'm not sure I believe in the concept of that something could be a waste of time. I'm not sure I believe in that idea, because you're always going to learn something, right? Even if it's, I do not want to do that ever again. You have that information. You had that experience, and it's going to shape your thinking moving forward. So it's an evolving process, and it's okay if it's not direct. So yes, there can be moments of frustration, but it's worth it to try to find something that you actually enjoy. When I was here doing my master's degree, I certainly had professors at that point that were like, Megan, how about, PhD? PhD for you? And I was like, no, I don't want more school. No, we're going to get through this master's degree. And then we're going to work. We're going to take a breath. I'm done with school. I don't know what kind of crazy idea you have right now. So I went out and I worked in the K-12 school system for about 4 years. And, I started to kind of get that okay, this is cool. My students are great. I love my colleagues. I enjoy being in a school. But I'd like to think about some bigger ideas more often than I am currently doing. And maybe those professors were right that PhD could be a good match for me. I think some of it was a shift in maybe my thinking about what I wanted my work to look like. So kind of, and I think it maybe took all of those things, or at least some of those things that I tried, and my time in the schools to kind of settle to a place where I was like, I feel like I want to I want to do something where I'm thinking more about like big ideas more often. So I think it kind of took all of that to sort of get to that place. My dad's a doctor, my mom's a pediatric nurse practitioner, and those are big jobs that take a lot of time, and they bring them home. And so I think originally I was kind of thinking like, no, I want my job to be my job, and like the rest of my life to be the rest of my life. And I think sort of over time and kind of through trying some different things, I got to a place where I was like, no, I guess I'm kind of okay with a job that's like also my life. So I think it sort of maybe just took that time to kind of get to that place for me. Because one of the things that happened for me once I got to the school system was I started working with kids with autism, and I love them so much. And then I was like really interested in knowing more and kind of thinking about, well, what do we know? And started to kind of think about maybe being interested in doing some research and that kind of thing. So I think that also sort of drove me toward higher ed. So like that bigger idea, level of thinking piece, as well as like having a profession that I think is kind of great and wanting to teach students about how to do that profession. I think it's really easy as a student, speaking as someone who has spent many years as a student, I think it's really easy to get kind of sucked into the like grind of like, okay, this is due and this is due, and just you're kind of like just trying to get through the thing. And sometimes you can kind of miss those moments of like, I learned a new thing. Oh my God, that's cool.
And then for this one,
so I had students in last week for a lab activity, and we were like playing with complex waves and trying to build sounds and like play with these different waves. And it's like tough stuff they're trying to figure out. Like I was kind of walking around and I had them working in socially distanced pairs, and I was like, okay, everybody's confused and frustrated right now. That's not great. So I went up to the front of the room and we like worked it through together, and then all of a sudden there was like, I don't know. I can't say that it was everybody, but it was a lot of the room was all, there was just this audible, oh. I was like, yes, we did it. That's like that's the reason to be a professor, where you're like, it worked this moment. And it feels like it just clicked into place for a lot of you. Is that what just happened? They're like, yeah, yes. So like that is the moment that you hope for. And it doesn't always happen, but it's very exciting when it does.